Well, greetings, everybody. My name's Kevin Rudd. I'm President and Chief Executive Officer of the Asia Society. Welcome to our series of conversations on Asian Americans building America. These are folks from different backgrounds right across this great country who are making an impact for America's good. And today we are privileged to be joined by ROTC Cadets, Eric Liu and Diana Kim. Hi, Eric. How are you?
Hi, Mr. Rudd. Good afternoon, or rather, good morning to you. I'm doing very well. Thank you.
That's good. And Diana Kim, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. Thanks for joining us. Now, folks, these young cadets are trained to become officers in the United States military. And a bit like my own country, Australia, there is no higher calling in any country than to wear the uniform of your country. In the case of the United States, to wear the uniform of the United States Armed Forces. So let me just start with a few questions. Mike, to you first, or should I say Eric to you first, because Mike's going to join us a bit later. Eric, you are joining us from New Jersey. And tell us just a little bit about why you decided to join the ROTC.
Right. Well, I decided to join ROTC for three main reasons. The first reason was a bit of a short-term goal. I wanted a program to help me become more physically fit, and I believe we can all agree that the Army is an excellent way to become more fit. The second reason was because I wanted a college program that would help teach me leadership, adaptability, and critical thinking, and I think that ROTC is a fantastic way to do that. But the third main reason was because I wanted to find a way to serve my country, to give back to my community. And I think that being an officer in the United States military is a really fantastic, a really unique way to do that. I'm currently a non-contracted cadet, so that means that I haven't formally committed yet, and I will be making a decision over the summer. But I already know that my experience in ROTC has really been beneficial, and if I continue, then I will do so, and without any reservations for serving my country.
That's fantastic, Eric. In my time in living in the United States the last 5 or 6 years, although I'm now in Australia, I'll be back in the US soon. I've met stacks of ROTC young people around the country. And they, in my experience, have had a great time at college and have really benefited from their joining the US military. Now, Diana, a bit about you. Eric said he had to become fit. Of course, I should have joined the military on that basis, but I didn't. Mind you, my brother is a regular member of the Australian military. In fact, he was a Vietnam vet, so that takes us back a while. So, Diana, tell us about you.
So I'm also from the East Coast. I'm from Long Island, New York. My father is a reverend pastor, so growing up, I learned a lot about service and giving back to the community. I started my journey to give back as a volunteer firefighter in high school, where I was exposed to quite a lot of enlisted soldiers, veterans. And when I told them that I would like to also enlist, they told me to pick a smarter route and go to college and join ROTC. I did have good marks in high school, and I enjoyed playing sports very much. So when I came to college, I wanted to find a group of people that had a common goal, which is service and leadership skills, and then also just to, like Eric said, stay physically fit.
That's fantastic. So you could have ended up as a firefighter, but you decided on the ROTC instead. So, well, I think that's the US military's game. So now tell me both about your family backgrounds. Eric Liu, that sounds like an Irish name to me. Sorry, that was a joke. Where are you from? What's your family background?
My family is not of Irish origin. They are from China. My dad's actually from the Shanghai region, and my mom's from the Hefei region. And my parents immigrated to the United States as students, I believe in the 80s or 90s. And I was born in 2001. I'm actually the first child to be born. I'm actually the first child in my family to be born in the United States. And my middle name, Siyuan, actually means, thinking of a land far away, because I was born here. I'm not living in China, but my name means that I'm still thinking of China as my ancestral land.
a fantastic story. 四元, so the 四 must be 四项的四, and yuan must be yuan as in a distance yuan. Is that right? So it's a long way, thinking a long way. Is that right? Away.
Yeah, not a Sichuan, but close, yes.
四项的四.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. Okay, that's good. Years ago, I studied in Taiwan, so I did Chinese as a university student. Now, that's great. So out of Shanghai and out of Hefei, which must be in Anhui province, not far away. So great story. Now, tell me about you, Diana. Diana Kim, with that family background, you must be German, of course. Sorry, another bad joke from me.
No, I am of Korean descent. My parents are both immigrants. They immigrated here in the 90s. My mom initially came to pursue a singing career in opera. And then my dad, the first thing that they looked for when they came here was a church to join. And that's when my dad started to pursue seminary school. And I was born a couple years later.
What part of, did your folks come from Korea direct to the United States?
So from Korea, they actually traveled to Italy first, and they both came from Italy.
Okay. That's a great story. I mean, the great tradition of America is the great melting pot, sort of lies in front of our eyes in this broadcast. You've got Eric Liu from Chinese origin, first-generation American, and joining ROTC, and yourself, daughter of a Korean pastor, and now joining the ROTC as well. These are great stories, and you're going to have a great future, I can tell. Now, have you seen in the headlines some of the news about increasing racial attacks on Asian Americans? Got any feelings about that? Have you experienced any of that yourself? Let me start again with you, Eric.
Yeah, I've definitely seen a lot of the headlines in the news. And well, thankfully, I've not experienced direct racism towards myself. No one's came up to me in the street and said any slurs, for example. No one's directly made any comments about my race. But of course, it doesn't mean that it still doesn't have an impact on me. I think when it comes to direct racism, I believe the statistics show that Asian American women are a lot more likely to face that kind of direct racism for a variety of factors. I remember relatively recently seeing that horrific video of that woman being kicked in New York with some security guards just being bystanders and not doing anything. And honestly, that was really, really scary because I live right across the river from New York, and I go there a lot of times. And I picture that I picture that happening with people that I care about, like my mom. And I can't believe it. But when it comes to racism, when it comes to anti-Asian racism in the United States, the fact that there are these disturbing headlines, it still creates an environment, I'd say, of uneasiness when it comes to my daily life, because if I have an interaction with someone that turns negative, for example, I can't help but think whether or not my race was a factor in that. Now, luckily, I live in a town in New Jersey with a very high Asian population, and so I don't have too much quote-unquote opportunities for experiencing racism compared to people who live in other parts of the United States, compared to Asians who live in other parts of the United States. But still, if I have a negative interaction with someone, I ask myself, is it because, or is it influenced by the fact that I'm Asian? If I bump into someone and they give me a dirty look, probably not. But if I'm, say, placing a food order and the cashier seems a bit uncharacteristically cool or uncharacteristically snarky towards me, I can't help but ask. I can't help but think whether or not my race is a factor. And of course, I can't ask them, are you acting like this because I'm Asian? And so even though I haven't directly experienced racism, anti-Asian racism during this pandemic or before it, there is still an environment of uneasiness that I have to go through every day as an Asian American.
Yep, Eric, hard to navigate in your day-to-day life, even if you don't cop it directly in the face. If you sense what's going on and you see evidence of it through the stories of others, like that poor Filipino woman who was attacked in the middle of Manhattan. Yeah, it's uncomfortable. Now, tell us about your own experience, Diana.
So personally, this reminds me of a conversation we had with actually Lieutenant Colonel Taney. One thing that our program really highlights is dignity and respect, which I think is essential to just treating all Americans, any Americans, as human, because that's essentially who we are. I think I find a lot of comfort in when I'm wearing my uniform, because no one questions whether I'm American then. I do travel to work to the city from the Bronx, where Fordham is. And these days I do feel like I have to be more cautious of what time of day I'm traveling, or who might be looking at me the wrong way, because of the hate that has increased. I do check in with my parents a lot more often, because I do not live at home. I ask them to be more cautious, and we take these precautions, but at the end of the day, it does hurt that we do have to take them. My fellow friends who are not Asian or not a person of color don't have to do the same. And so it's a unique experience, but I think there is a lot of comfort in that, just knowing who I am, and that is an Asian American, and there is dignity and respect in that.
Well, you know, part of the reason we're doing this, Diana and Eric, is just so that all Americans actually hear these stories about what it's like to be on the receiving end of this sort of stuff. And it's just plain wrong. I'm doubly sensitive to this, triply sensitive. I've got two little Chinese Australian grandkids, and one is 5 and one is 7. So I'm always very mindful of what is happening out there in the community. Eric, let me ask you this one. How proud are you to be an American? I see the flag behind you, the Stars and Stripes. You're about to enlist in the ROTC. How proud are you to be an American?
I'm very proud to be an American. I think that America is a fantastic country. We, as you mentioned before, I think one of the greatest strengths of America is our diversity and the melting pot. Every wave of immigration, every person that comes to America really enhances our national culture. That's something that I think that really, I can't think of any other country, perhaps maybe Canada to a little extent, who has that sort of national, that melting pot kind of flavor for their national culture. But of course, just because I'm proud to be American doesn't mean that I can't also be proud of my Asian heritage. This actually reminds me of a debate going on in France, because I actually really enjoy learning foreign languages, studying foreign cultures, and I'm actually minoring in French. There's this ongoing debate in France over whether or not you can really hyphenate your identity. I'm sure many of you guys, or many of you, have seen the France's victory in, I think, the 2018 World Cup FIFA. And there was a comedian, Trevor Noah, in the United States, who made a joke. He said that it was an African victory because a lot of the players in the French team were of African descent. But a lot of French people actually got pretty offended, not offended, but rather horrified that he said that, because in France, a lot of the far-right people, far-right racist people there say, oh, they're not French, they are African. Yes, Trevor Noah, we agree with you. They are not French. And Trevor Noah, on his show, he addressed it, and he said that just because he is highlighting their Africanness, he is not denying their Frenchness. So I think that's also something that I can apply to myself. I'm very proud to be American. I'm happy that I live here and that I enjoy the freedoms that we have here. But I'm also very proud to be Asian American, to be of Asian descent, and I won't let anyone take that away from me.
Okay, getting toward the end of our discussion here, Diana, tell me, how proud are you to be an American?
I am very proud to be an American. I am so grateful to have been born here, to my parents who allowed me to be Asian American. I am proud to be of Korean descent, but at the end of the day, when we do don our uniform and when we are training at ROTC, I couldn't say I can't say enough how proud I am to be American.
Well, it's an extraordinary thing to wear the uniform of your country, as I've said earlier in our discussion today. And frankly, I'm proud of both of you for doing what you're doing and standing up today. Last question. What gives you most hope for America around this question of race? Eric, quick 30 seconds from you, and I'm going to ask the same of Diana.
Well, what gives me the most hope right now is the fact that the younger generation is very vocal about confronting racism, no matter which target, based on religion or race or sexual orientation. It gives me really great hope to see that everyone online that I know, even those who don't necessarily agree with me politically, Democrat or Republican, they're all very vocal about condemning racism, about fighting racism and discrimination in all forms. And I think that really does give me hope, because we are going to be the future. And if we have this attitude, we're going to pass it down to our kids and the future generations too.
Thank you so much. Diana, last words from you.
I'd have to also agree that during the height of the headlines and the horror that was going on in the news, a lot of my friends reached out to openly have conversation. And I think that is a highlight of our generation. I hope that we, going forward, can continue to have these open discussions and hopefully lead to substantial change.
Fantastic. For me, it's been an honor to discuss these questions with you two guys today. And you make me so proud of this emerging generation of young Americans doing their bit for their country. So let me close by saying, Eric Liu, Diana Kim, thank you so much for being with us today. We really appreciate your service to the United States and what both of you are doing to pave this way for others in the Asian American community to put on the uniform for the US as well. Great to be with you. My name's Kevin Rudd. I'm from the Asian Society, and thank you for joining us in Asian Americans Building America.